We move on to the other sessions for the day. Next, we have Professor Virendra Kapoor, who is here to speak on child-centered education and pedagogy. The chairperson for this session will be Srimati Lata Vaidyanathan, Principal, Modern School, Delhi. I repeat, Srimati Lata Vaidyanathan, Principal, Modern School, Delhi, will be the chairperson for this session. And the rapporteur for this session will be Srimati Molly Thayal, Correspondent, Santa Maria Academy, Trichur, Kerala. May I call Srimati Rama Devi C., Principal, Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan's Public School, Andhra. May I request you, ma'am, to be the chairperson for this session?
She's coming, right, okay.
Professor Kapoor, a telecommunication engineer who did Masters in Computer Science from IIT Bombay and later an MA in International Relations and Strategic Studies from University of Pune. He also holds a diploma in Marketing Management. Professor Kapoor, an educationalist of repute, was director of SITM, a prestigious management institute under the Symbiosis umbrella. He started the Management Institute for Leadership and Excellence at Pune. He has emerged as a leading think tank in human behavior, motivation, and success. A versatile writer, he has written on very important subjects in the area of human excellence, and he has given a concrete shape and a worldwide status to the concept of Jugaad, which is an Indian concept of getting things done. May I now request Srimati Gauri Lakshmi to honor the speaker.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me at the last bench? Okay. Morning, everyone. In fact, very glad to be here today. I'm thankful to Mr. Vineet Joshi for asking me to come here and speak to you. Yesterday, I heard some very interesting sessions on assessing, teaching, a lot of research presentations were there. I'm going to talk, I am not a researcher, I'm a practitioner. So I will talk to you right from my heart and I fire from the hip. I don't mince words. I don't use PowerPoint at all, ever. Because if I use PowerPoint, then there is no power in my point. And in my first 6 months in my institute, I do not allow PowerPoint to be used by students. They have to stand up and speak. John F. Kennedy never had a PowerPoint. Adolf Hitler never had a PowerPoint. Fidel Castro never had a PowerPoint. Churchill never had a PowerPoint. And you're still quoting them. So I'm not going to talk about academics at all. You all are very good. Let me talk in the correct context. I think our education system is pretty good. in the sense that if you look at what the country is today, it is because of my generation and a generation before us. Half the guys in Silicon Valley are from IITs. Half the guys in Intel and NASA are working who are Indians. So while it is good to examine and see things from the West, we should not, my warning is that we should not pick up small little cherries. Either you get the whole cake, you adopt the whole system, which we can't, or modify yourself to suit what suits us. So a little bit more practical on this. So I'm not going to give any global gyan on academics. You all are good. If you're teaching physics for the last 20 years, damn it, you have to be good. You have to be good, and you are good. We are a product of IITs. We are product of the same schools. And we are good. So while it's good to learn, understand what others are doing, use it in the correct perspective as we should. Let me tell you, leadership, I'm going to talk about, I think the topic was wrongly announced despite my telling twice. I'm speaking on the role of leadership in schools. So I think you had chocolates last one full day. Let me give you a little bit of strawberry, so there'll be a change. I'm not going to talk of teaching at all. I'm going to talk on the more softer and yet more powerful points which you need to consider as principles of schools, and I assume that everybody here is in that role. Is that so? Everybody here is a principal. Let me also tell you that a good leader takes an organization from rock bottom to the top, and a bad leader, if you give him a good organization, he can ruin it. Is that right or not? Okay. So that is what it is. And also, brick and mortar does not make an institute. An institution is made by the software, that is you and me. A 10-acre campus or 20-acre campus of an MBA institute is not important. Are you teaching them agriculture? All that you require is good classrooms and good faculty. You need that. That is more important rather than spending money on big gates and huge infrastructure, which is fine, it's good to look at, but we can't afford that today. You can still teach in an ordinary, neat and clean classrooms, and that is what I'm talking about from my experience. Whatever I'm going to talk about, I'm already practicing. So you can ask me questions if you want. From this 45 minutes or so, the talk that I'm going to give, if you can take back 5 points home and implement only 3, I think then these 45 minutes would be worth it. But do implement and have the guts to implement these things. Now, leadership is in every field. An engineer is an engineer for first 3 years of his career. After that, he becomes a manager. After another 5-6 years, when he's 10 years, he becomes a leader. He has to lead people. Similarly, director of a management institute is a leader, and he has to lead his whole team together. Similarly, principals are also leaders. So I'm going to talk in that context. Now, what is a leader? There are 100 people cutting wood in a jungle, and there are 5 supervisors behind them, each controlling 20 of these woodcutters, how much wood to cut, how to cut, and they say, I'm a leader. All these 5 are leaders. Then there's a chap standing behind these 5 guys, wearing a coat and a tie. He's a manager. He manages these 100 people through these 5 supervisors, and he says, I'm a leader. None of them is a leader. A leader is a guy who climbs the tallest tree, and he looks at all the jungles that are available, because there are bamboo jungles, there are teak jungles, and there are sandalwood jungles. Which jungle to go to? The person who tells you which jungle to go to and cut the trees is the leader. So please understand, it is not nuts and bolts. Leaders have to, and that is what is linked to your vision as to where are you taking your organization. That must be clear. Now, leadership is not science. Leadership is, to a large extent, it's an art, which you have to develop over a period of time. It can't be, that's why the experience is very, very important. Now, I'll be talking to you from the book of mine, Art of Effective Leadership, released just about 6-8 months back. It's got 55 very short chapters, and I'm going to pick up a few from here and talk to you. So I was coming to, are leaders made or are leaders born? The answer is yes and no both. To simplify the whole thing, I'll put the leadership into two blobs. One is what I call as skills, which are learnable. One are the traits, which are the qualities which are to a large extent inborn. For example, organizing this seminar is a skill which you can learn. But motivating people to rally behind you and run this seminar for these 3 days is an art. Are you clear on this art and science part? The skill and the quality that you have. But the next question is, skills can be learned very easily to a large extent in a classroom, whereas the art part, the quality, you can imbibe gradually. That is why they say work with good people, work under good leaders, work under great captains, and that's how something rubs off you and you become a better learned leader. Leadership is a very, very generic function. Please understand. Have you seen any train accident being shown in a movie or on a television, where you find that 50 people are dead, 100 people are injured, and the train is burning? Suddenly 3-4 people will take charge. Have you seen that? 4-5 people will take charge and say, do this, do that, go and inform the station master, take the injured here, and everybody rallies behind them. This is what I call as leadership without authority. But you are all having authority, and yet we are not good leaders, so there's a problem. That means you can be a leader without authority. You take initiative and people follow you. I will talk about 4 basic areas: leadership that you practice, leadership that you must demonstrate, that's very important, and through leadership you create an environment. Now this is very, very important. And when you create this environment, you make people work and your organization becomes more vibrant. Now let me tell you, as a director of a management institute, which I've done for so many years, I always feel that my job is to provide a good environment in my organization. Now environment means lots of things, which I'm going to talk about. Most important is practice. We Indians we lack that initiative to do. That is why all our projects get delayed. Yes or no? Say it loud, yes or no? Why every time you're making a tunnel, it's supposed to do it in 2 years, it takes 3 years? Why a small little bridge which has to be made, why it is not built? Ladies and gentlemen, you are here to increase the national productivity. What you and me do, we are adding directly to the GDP of the country. Please remember, it is not only physics, chemistry, maths. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the 4th block, which I've been discussing with Mr. Vineet Joshi, that the 4th block is missing. I'm going to talk about that 4th block. We are very happy with the status quo. We are happy with the status quo. We are argumentative Indians. How many of you read this book by Amrita Sen? Argumentative Indians. We argue, we discuss a lot. But when it comes to action, I have a friend of mine, he is the CEO of Tata Quality Management Studies. He travels almost 200 days abroad just to check the best practices of other industries abroad so that they can use that in Tatas. So I keep asking Sunil that, what do you think is the major difference between us and their industry and the way they work? He says their execution is very, very fast. They execute things very fast, whereas we discuss a lot and we don't execute. So my request is, whatever we're discussing today, go back and execute also. Don't just leave it as a conference. Now, we were talking about self-esteem. I think the first thing was, as we as a nation had on Vico Vajradanti. How many of you have seen that? They show it in trailers, they show that Japanese people are coming. Just raise hands. Anybody seen that ad? Raise that hand. Okay. And they are coming, and that's an ad for Vico. It's an Ayurvedic cream, paste, toothpaste. And you are trying to you are getting an approval from a Japanese to tell Indians that the Vico Vajradanti is very good. Yes, no. Why do you want a stamp of approval? Why can't we use our own heads and see what is right and what is wrong? Which I call as yoga via Washington and turmeric via Boston. Your nani will tell you to eat turmeric, you will not, but somebody from the West will tell you to eat turmeric, you'll start eating it. Yes, no? Say it loud. Your leaders. Okay, innovation. Now, I think we lack innovation. Why? Facebook, how many of you have seen this movie called Social Network? Some of you. I think principals don't see movies. Give them some time to see movies. You learn a lot. Now, when you go and see this movie, you see that boy who is from, I think, Harvard or one of these great institutions, he spends $1,000 and that kid is sitting on $70 billion of capital. Why this Facebook could not emerge from IIT Madras? Have you asked this question? I'm an IITian. It's running on a backbone called internet, which is already existing. Can anybody answer this question? Why we have not come up with the idea of Windows? The guys who are programming behind Windows and Google are Indians. Do you accept that? But the blueprint is made by them. Why? We lack the guts to do that. We are less adventurous. Sorry? We don't take risks because we are less adventurous. Have you seen a 70-year-old couple taking an 18-feet yacht and going around the world, around the Pacific? Can we even imagine? You don't even allow your child to go into the rain, say, beta, bimar ho jayega. No, you can, I think we'll take this Q&A later on. As I said, we argue a lot, ma'am. We argue a lot. Give her a big hand. We argue a lot, and we can argue till the cows come home, but let me finish first, and I'll take your questions. And I'll answer each one of them. Now, in my institute, I started sending students to the Everest Base Camp. Anybody's been here? Anybody out of you has been to Everest Base Camp? Raise your hand, sir. One out of a million. Everest Base Camp is not easy. It's 20,000 feet. Every year, one or two of my students volunteer, and our dean also goes there to show them this is what adventure is, this is what risk is. Are we adventurous as a nation? This is what you got to teach as principals. Teach adventure. I'm not saying send your kids to EBC. Now, another point which I want to quickly make is be prepared to make mistakes. How many of you allow that? Raise hands. Allow yourself. Raise hands higher, please. Yes. Everybody will raise hands now. Good. If you do 10 things, 3 will go wrong. Please understand. And if you don't do anything, nothing will go wrong. So we say status quo. मैंने क्यों करना है ये पंगा लूंगा तो विनीत जी गुस्सा हो जाएंगे. If I do this, my management will fire me. If I do this, so and so will happen. If I do this, parents नाराज हो जाएंगे. ये करूंगा तो बच्चे नाराज हो जाएंगे. Yes, no. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, leadership is all about taking risks. Take a bit of a risk, doesn't happen, and I've done it enough. I'll tell you, I don't think anybody in this country has experimented this. Just listen to this. I have done a very small experiment in my institute. I have an open library. An open library means the library does not have a door. It does not have a door. There are no almiras. It's an MBA institute where we run an MBA program. There are people with work experience. There are people who are BTechs. There are people who are BCom, whatever. They're all 21, 22, 23 to 29 years age. That is the age group that I have. Now these people, when I started, I said, let's start an open library. There's no librarian. There's no librarian, no peon, no locks and doors. All books, magazines, everything is open. And there are a dozen computers because we call that a knowledge center. When I wanted to do this, my deputies and my dean say, sir, ye bacche to bahut chor hain. And these guys will whack all the books. So I said, let me experiment, how much will it cost? If I lose 100 books, you don't have to be a mathematician. A management book costs you $250 on an average. Okay? Yes, no? Students edition, $250. Second hand, sasta mil jata hai. $250 multiplied by 100, how much is it? 25,000 rupees? Yes, no? I said if 100 books get lost, I am prepared to take the risk, and if I am not worth 25,000, I must resign. I am not fit to be a leader. I don't want to sit on this chair. Let's take a risk. Can you believe it, ladies and gentlemen? 3 years have passed. Not even one book is stolen. Give credit to my students. And what happened was, we did a stock taking after 1 year, and we found 31 books extra. And these chaps contributed themselves. This is peer pressure. Peer pressure in the right direction. Because if you got hostels, me, Vineet ji and Sadhana madam are staying in the same hostel. I do some chori. Vineet ji will tell me, Virender, why are you doing this? The institute is being good. Let us look at peer pressure the right way. Today, the peer pressure which we are talking about is I have Nokia 811, so she has got Nokia 911. That is a peer pressure on your dad's pocket. That is not peer pressure on you. So the peer pressure works in the right direction. If you want to experiment, please do that. And I can assure you, I was prepared to fail. I was prepared to fail in this experiment, but I did it. And since it has worked out well, I'm sharing it with you. Even if I had failed, I would have shared it with you. That don't do it. I would have told you, don't do it. I tried it, I failed. So what? Avoid group thinking. This is very, very important. If everybody is thinking the same way, then that means somebody is not thinking. If everybody is thinking the same way, then somebody is not thinking. Somebody should come and say something different. Leaders, the best part of leadership is, if you look at Obama's cabinet today, he has taken who? Joe Biden, who was his vice president, was his opponent. Hillary Clinton is Secretary of State. That's a team of rivals. Team of rivals so that they keep correcting you wherever you're going wrong. So listen to the people. Let them say something different, and don't allow group thinking in your organization. You know, John F. Kennedy, when his strategic meetings used to take place, he used to call people from outside, and he himself used to vanish as the President of the United States. And let the people discuss and find holes in the policy of the government. And they say that 1962 Cuban crisis was averted because of this reason only. Somebody said, what the hell are you doing? And the president was told, sir, what the hell are you doing? And he says, yes, I think I need to take a look at this. A world war was averted because you avoid groupthink. How many of you are very democratic in calling people together and taking decisions? Raise hands and listen to people. Very good. Everybody is excellent leaders. Good. Do that. If you're doing it, I would say I have nothing else to add on this. Don't go for yes men. This is another trait of ours, you know. Chamcha. So either you don't become a chamcha and also don't have chamchas in your organization. We like to have people who, do a lot of, oh sir, you are very good. Oh, fine, I am good. But tell me where I am going wrong, no? And that is a good brainstorming. Listen to people, what they have to tell you. I'll give you an example. There was a company which was making dog biscuits. Okay, dog biscuits. The chairman was very upset that the sales were dropping and they were spending a lot of money on ads. So he called, chairman called a board meeting, called everyone, vice president, marketing, branding, etc., etc. And they said, tell me why our biscuits are not, why our sales are going down, why our sales are going down. They said, no, sir, we'll increase this budget, we'll now do a media mix. They gave a lot of bar charts, pie charts, very confusing graphs. Chairman was not getting convinced. He said, no, I want to know why our sales are dropping. So one youngster was standing at the back and he said, sir, I have to say something. I'll tell you why our sales are not, why our sales are dropping. He said, yeah, tell me, young man, what is it? He said, sir, dogs don't like our biscuits. Oh yeah, you're making some bloody ridiculous biscuits and you're spending money on branding. So you have to listen to everyone in the organization and then it works. Art of delegation, let me tell you, delegation which I learned in Symbiosis is something which is the greatest motivator. As a director of a management institute, if you are given total autonomy to work the way you want to shape your organization, is the biggest motivator. And same thing happens to a class teacher. Yes, no. Let them run. If you want to put up a chart, do it. If you don't want to put up a chart, don't do it. If you want to make an apple, make it. If you don't want to make an apple, take a banana. And then let the guy run the show. Make a job description. Brief the person in detail what is expected from him. And then don't breathe down their necks. Most of us do it. If I ask you, 90% of the people breathe down the other people's neck. They don't listen to, they don't let them work. Another important point is that if you have a problem, come to me. Now this is a very important thing, that if you don't allow people to come to you and say that, yes, I have a problem, and you give them a solution, people will start bypassing you. They'll go to somebody else to find a solution, and then that will hurt your self-esteem, and you will say, oh, why are you doing this? Because that is you, since he has come to you 3 times, and he says, my boss is an idiot, and I don't want to go to him because he or she will never give me a solution. Now, communication, I'll tell you another story of a jailer. There was a jailer, this is a true story, right? There was a jailer who had a very good track record, but what happened, sometimes all the guys sent a petition to the jail minister that something has gone wrong with this guy. Something has. I talked about communication, and here it is. Nice music, madam. Okay, thank you. So, this jailer, they complained against him that something has gone wrong with this jailer. So this jail minister saw this complaint and he said, let me go and examine. This chap has got a very good track record. Why? What is happening? So he went to the guy and he says, okay, you keep sitting here. Let me go and talk to the inmates, to the prisoners, what the problem is. So, every jail has got at the back huge compound. So all the prisoners were made to stand there. They asked, why are you complaining against this jailer? So they said, sir, I don't know, last 10 days this chap has gone bonkers. He's making us stand in a line every day in the morning and asks us to dig 3 feet of trench. And in the evening, 5 o'clock, he comes and blows the whistle and we are supposed to fill the trench back. Next day, he makes us again stand in a different direction and we dig. We are doing this for the last 10 days, digging 3 feet and filling the trench. It is might as well do some constructive work. I don't mind, doing some knitting or making some chairs. So this chap was also, he says, he's just unnecessarily troubling the inmate. So he goes back to the jailer. He said, why are you doing this? He says, oh, sir, you're talking about that. He said, this jail is 100 years old and the blueprint, we have misplaced the blueprint, we don't have. And the pipeline which sends the water into this jail is corroded and we can't locate the pipeline. So I'm making them stand in a line to dig the hole, that play like hell, that pipeline, and we'll get the alignment and we'll get it, the pipeline changed. Now, this is when you make a grand plan for your institute or for your organization, for your school, tell the teachers, tell the people, what are you going to do? Why are we doing it, rather than just sending a circular that from tomorrow onwards, so and so, so and so, so and so will happen. So what shit, why have you sent me this? So inform people your vision, what you want to do, and that's very, very important. The next thing is very important, very, very important. You can't break rules, but you can bend them. Please understand. You can't break rules as a leader, but you can always bend them a little. Please understand, clerks follow the book. Leaders go beyond the book. How many of you are sticklers for rules, commas and full stops? Show the book. Most of you. Yes, no? Most of us. Have you ever broken a rule for helping someone? Anybody? Very good. Do that. Do that. If you're doing it, I think more ladies do that possibly. I'll become more popular, right? So more ladies do that. I just heard so many ladies saying, yes, we do that. So ladies bend rules more than the men, and bending a rule. You know, General Colin Powell said, it is easier to get forgiveness than to get a permission. It's easier to get a forgiveness for doing something rather than getting a permission. In our own system of bureaucracy, if I can say, we are all bureaucrats, right? We keep saying bureaucrats are only IAS officers. No, we are all bureaucrats. And if you ask for a permission, out of 10 guys in the chain, one chap will say, it is my job to say no. There will be one chap who will always say, no, it can't be done. Come tomorrow. So don't ask permission, do it. If it is for the good of the organization. That's the underline. And let me tell you, if you do good for the organization, if you bend a rule, even if at times you break a rule, people will support you. I've seen it myself. I've done it. And I'm very, very sure that it can be. People are good. Okay, now bringing change. Don't wait for orders and directions from someone from top to tell you what is to be done. I think this is very, very important. And take pride in your job and what you do. See, I renovated my library, and my management directive to the girls who were designing the library was that my library should not look like a library. So this is what? I said my library should not look like a library. Library is supposed to be looking like a Tihar jail, you know, very brown, dingy lights. Most of us have seen that. I said, let's change that, make it bright, peppy, so that people want to sit there and read. I'm not saying you have a disc there, or a disco, or a dance, or a music, but you make it bright and make it different. When you go to my library, you say, wow, oh, a library doesn't look like this. It's something totally different. So experiment. Be a coach. This is extremely important. Most of us don't do this. Another very important point is be accessible. As a principal, there are 50 people waiting for you. Please understand. Have you ever seen bosses who are not accessible? Raise hands. I will not ask you for names. Accessible means it's very difficult to meet them. Have you, sorry? Approachable is not accessible also, because they are all the time busy on the phone or doing something, and you are waiting for a decision from the principal that I want to do so and so. So if you don't allow people to meet you, the entire organization becomes slower. The higher you go, the span of control becomes larger and larger. So if you are controlling, let's say the chairman of CBSE, you have a much, much larger role to play. So you have to become accessible, and this is an art which you develop over a period of time. Another point I want to tell you is become from a specialist to a journalist. Some of you have taught, for example, chemistry or maths or physics for a large number of years, 20 years. Good enough, you've done a very good job. But when you become a principal, you have to wear a different hat. You are a teacher at heart, that's fine. You have all the, not the excess baggage, enough baggage with you. You have enough knowledge of what teachers face, what are the problems, you already know that. But then you have to get out of the groove, and now you are a leader, you are an administrator, you are a manager. That's what is important to understand. And the earlier you understand, the better it is. Culture, now very, very important. A company with a good culture. Now tell me, when Tata's acquires a property, Taj, have you been to Taj hotels? You must have seen. Taj hotels, when you go, they take an old property, what do? They don't only change the plaster. They don't change the lipstick polish. They change the flesh and blood inside. They get a new GM, new management, new hirees, new software. That's you and me. And then the property which was in the red for the last 15 years becomes profitable immediately. What is that? That's the leadership function. That means they change the leader, and the way the hotel is run after that, people would love to come and visit you. You know, culture is like a spoon of curd. In South, I think you all were very fond of curds. You take 1 spoon of curd and put it into 2 kgs of milk, and next day you get 2 kgs of curd. So that is what is, so much of culture is important. Another point about culture is, culture cannot be copied. That becomes your USP. This is my culture. You can't copy. ISO certifications can be copied. ISO certifications can be gotten through consultants. They can tell you what has to be done. But a culture has to be cultivated. It is not very simple to create a culture overnight. I can't go to Ratan Tata and say, sir, I'll pay you 1 crore in cash, give me 2 kgs of Tata culture. I'll give it one spoon to all principals and we'll have Tata culture. It can't be done. Culture has to be, so leadership function, most important is to create a very good, responsive culture. This is basically on your values. Another thing which needs to be done is, as leaders, you must anticipate. You know, a good driver does not know. How many of you drive cars? Raise hands. I think most of us. Fine. What's a good driver is not a guy who knows how to control the clutch and brake and the steering. A good driver is who can anticipate what the next guy is going to do. A car in front of you, a car behind you, a car on your right, a car on your left. So it is mental gymnastics as a principle you must do. Anticipate. Oh, Rekha has got married. Rekha has got married. So after 9 months she might get pregnant. That's anticipation. Okay? And she'll take for maternity leave, and then for next 1 year she's not going to come back. So I'm going to lose 1 teacher. So think of a backup. So think ahead. Predict. Not like an astrologer, but predict what can possibly come. So you're better prepared for that. Another point is the buck stops here. A lot of us pass the buck. It was told by Harry Truman, the buck stops here in the White House. That means you pass the buck to each other. But when it comes to me, I have to take a decision. You know why CEOs of companies are paid 3 times more than the number 2 in America? In certain companies it happens. The CEOs negotiate their package one-on-one, which is beyond the bands. The bands that you have, typically for employees, the CEO haggles and gets a very big package because he's paid because of taking decisions. If anything goes wrong, his neck is in the noose. So please understand, decision making is your job. Now, integrity is very important. And as somebody said, if you have integrity, nothing else matters. And if you don't have integrity, nothing else matters. If you have integrity, nothing else matters. If you don't have integrity, nothing else matters. And let me tell you, as teachers, we have to demonstrate. I'm using the word, you have to be demonstrating that I am fair. You have to demonstrate that I don't have blue-eyed people. You have to demonstrate that I am good to everyone. So being good is one, demonstrating is your part of your job. I don't know how many of you realize this, but this is very important. You know, every year when my new batch joins, 120 students, I ask them a question. How many of you think Tata is an honest company? I ask them a question. How many of you think Tata's in India is an honest company? Believe me, year on year, all 120 hands go up. Without batting an eyelid. This is a perception. And perception is a reality, and reality is a perception. So you have to create that perception amongst your parents, amongst your peers, amongst the students, that the principal can never go wrong. The principal or the leader can never go wrong. How do you build it? It takes a lot of time to build that image of yours as an honest person. And this, if it is done, let me tell you, half the battle is won. People will not come and they won't have the guts to talk anything wrong. Okay. No politics, please. How much time I have got, sir? Okay. So I'll take 5 minutes. Can I take 5 minutes? Okay. Let me just wrap up. Now, what should be brought in the schools, I feel? School becomes the best vehicle to change. I think if we want our country's attitude to change, this is the only place. That sab chalta hai attitude. People were talking about non-cognizant abilities yesterday. Let me tell you, let me share it with you. I'm struggling in a postgraduate course in a PG what you should have done at KG. I'm honestly telling you, I interact with all the CEOs of companies and HR heads who are taking my students into the industry. They say, we are struggling with the basic mechanism of how do you make people responsive, people disciplined, people coming on time. And who's to change this? It is you people. That's the fourth block I'm talking about. You're not making people ready for the society. You are talking about empowered teaching, you're talking about this, that, and all that. But at the end of the day, the chap is he ready to perform? We had a Chinese gentleman speaking in the morning. I was doing a workshop for a Chinese company, I will not name, in Bangalore. And we had 15 Chinese, and the CEO was also a Chinese, and he was there. And it was a 2 days workshop on emotional intelligence. And one of the Indians said, we are going to beat China in next 10 years. And he said this 10 years back. And then there was a lady who got up and she says, you don't come to time to the office, how will you beat us? And there was a stunned silence. And that was a slap on our face. So as I said, we keep discussing things till cows come home, but we must do all these things. Sab chalta hai, punctuality, discipline. And, you know, one more thing I would like to share before I sign off is a teacher is a teacher is a teacher. A student is always a student and remain a student. There has to be a distance between a teacher and a student. Whether it's a school, whether it's a post-graduation, and let me tell you, our system works fine. We had good teachers during our days. We had bad teachers during our days. We have very good teachers today. We also have some bad teachers today. Only thing is, media is making noise. Adhyapak ne thappad maar diya. So pura din Aaj Tak channel will keep showing you one. Put that chap, take that chap to task. But don't befriend students. This is not what I would like to advocate. Keep that respect. That's the Eastern culture, that people respect age. We still look after our parents because of the age. So I'm saying, don't take in penny packets. Implement what is right for us. You know, I read a news in a foreign policy magazine just a year back. Listen to this very carefully. if you want to import these things. The Minister of Schools in the UK has written to the Prime Minister of UK, let's bring the rod back to the school. Is there any clapping on this? Bring the rod back to the school. I am not saying for a bit that breaks somebody's head. I am not saying you got somebody's eye out. If I ask in this audience, how many of you are punished when you were in school? Raise hands. Have I gone to mental asylum? I'm standing okay in front of you. I gave a talk at IIM Bangalore. I was a chief guest. I was addressing an alumni meet with 600 people. I said, how many of you caned in your school? Everybody raised hand and he said, one chap said, sir, I want to say something. I'm here in IIM Bangalore because I was not exactly beaten, punished for something wrong. So please understand, I am saying that my sister went to a school called CJM, Convent of Jesus and Mary. That is in Delhi, Gold Market. Some of you are coming from north would say it's one of the best schools. Yes? Today also people are prepared to give their left arm to have their daughter admitted in CJM. And their Reverend Mother used to carry a cane. And you do something wrong, you get a whack. I'm not saying corporal punishment, but there has to be some fear of God, a fear of a teacher. You make these guys in a cocoon. Are you making them ready to the society to catch a train from Dadar to VT? How many of you gone there? To take a DTC bus? You're making them so soft, sissies. You have to make our students a little rough and tough. Let me tell you, before I say Jack Robinson, in my institute, the kind of induction program that I have is the toughest. First 30 days, because your BComs and BBAs are 1 week pass. It's a 1 week pass. Today, unfortunately, your central vertebra is missing, not the schools. Schools are still doing a very good job. The BComs, you pass in 1 week and you get 75% marks. How? So by the time he comes out or the boy comes out, the pressure cooker is there till 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, board exam, board exam, board exam, pre-board, pre-board, pre-board. Suddenly, the pressure cooker lid opens and he gets a bike and a girlfriend. He's doing his BCom. Now, I'm facing this problem, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm telling you, do something about it. And when he comes, he has got 3-inch rust on his body. He's rusted. He's not prepared to work in an MBA institute. And he wants a job. He wants a placement. How do I give you placement? You're not even prepared to work 6 hours a day. So I grind them 20 hours. Now, I'm not exaggerating. My institute, first 30 days, 20 hours a day for 30 days non-stop. No Saturday, no Sundays. People stand and sleep. They walk like zombies. And from 4 in the morning till 12 they are left with 2 assignments. We also get the grinding. We also there. Not for all 20 hours, we take turns. But what happens after that? It is like that scooter when you have a carburetor has got kachra. So you zip it. So the kachra comes out. So we are removing that kachra. And after 20 hours, my regimen is 14 hours a day after that. So theory of relativity. So when you 20 hours, after that you make it to 12 hours, it becomes a cakewalk. So people feel, oh sir, 12 ghante ho gaya. Very good, bada aaram mil raha hai. But this is what needs to be done. I think role of parents is very, very important. Mental toughness. I have written books on emotional intelligence for schools. And where I am talking about resilience. I tell students of today, why are you committing suicide? I should have committed suicide. When I passed out of my school, ladies and gentlemen, I had 4 options. Yes, no. Engineering kar lo, vakil ban jao, doctor ban jao, otherwise auto rickshaw chalao. We still did well. I'm a product of an IIT and I'm very proud of that. But we did that. Today, people are doing dance on boogie woogie and earning money. People are creating websites and making money. Why are you committing suicide? You're foolish. You have to put some sense in them. Then why are you doing it? And let me tell you, teachers are doing a very good job. 70% fault is with parents, and I'm saying that as a teacher. 70% of the time, the fault is with the parents. And somebody has to hold the hand and say, no, as a principal, when the complaint comes to you, you must hold the hand of your teachers. Your decision has to be right. But that is what is ailing us, and I think that must be done. So role of parents is very important, and I think each one of you, I would recommend read this book, very simple. Art of Effective Leadership. It's available on Landmark. It's available on almost every portal. And this you and your senior teachers must read. I've culled out a few things and put here. If you can implement even 40% of what's given in this book, you will be able to transform your schools. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for a patient hearing. Any questions? 2 minutes. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Give her a mic, please. I think I have run short of time. So maybe one question. Anybody else? Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, you can be a little louder. What do you have? What? Oh, yes. How experience helps in leadership? Oh, yes, you need no hair like me or you need grey hair. Oh, experience is... Okay, I was just talking on Punjabi interview on DD yesterday. I just flipped my TV and I saw I was there. They asked me about leadership. Tajurba jisko bolte hain, experience. Experience comes only by experience. Experience comes only by experience. In the IT companies, when I do workshops, I always find a problem that the IT companies, the balloon went up very fast. Okay? That means they were sitting on a small balloon. The balloon expanded, they went up themselves. So you had a CEO at 25 years of age. It was not because of his great competence. It just happened. Okay? So man management, people management, human resource management, these guys had no clue. And that's why they are messing it up. So experience is very important. Yes, have I answered this question? Okay, yes ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Kapoor. Your talk was wonderful. In fact, I think what you told us was what is in all of our hearts, but we're a little too afraid to say it out since it's perceived as politically incorrect.
Give it a big hand. Okay, thank you ma'am.
We all feel exactly like you do, sir. In fact, I completely agree on making children emotionally strong, and that the fact that to a large extent parents are responsible. But I don't think we can completely wash our hands off it.
No, I never said that.
No, we are pressurized in some way by the parents to go soft on children, much as we would not like to. I do not spare the rod at home. I have 2 children aged 6 and 11, but I do not touch a child in school. But the problem is that if I were to, I don't endorse caning or beating, but I do tell children, I pull them up for, say, not doing homework or not completing a project. And I get calls from parents who have traumatized.
Do you know the meaning of trauma? Half of us don't even know. My dog is traumatized, you know, because I shout at my dogs. My dog is traumatized. We stretch it too long, too far.
So they call it emotional abuse. They say I traumatize a child.
Madam, you can do nothing about it. I would thank all these 200 channels for this, the media channels that you have, and all the socialites. I'm very sorry to say, all the socialites who come and speak at these forums, their own children are on drugs. Okay? So let's call a spade a spade. Don't call a spade a shovel. And that's why I'm saying, have the guts to do it. See, madam, another thing I want to tell you. You take responsibility for your daira. Okay? Your role. I am responsible for 240 students, and I'll run my institute the way I want to run. If you want to send your child to my institute, madam, your choice. Otherwise, here you go. Here you go.
The one thing
I've done it. I don't come under any pressure from anyone. If you say, oh, my child can't take pressure, I said, sir, then he can't take pressure in the corporate world. Who'll pay him 50,000 rupees a month for sitting on the chair in an air-conditioned office? Sorry. He'll travel 30 days a week, a month. So the pressure has to be built from the schools. He has to live in the real world. So are you making ready people for the real world?
Exactly what we feel, but the law is pro-child and pro-parent. In case the schools...
See, madam,
slip.
I'm not a member of parliament.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry I can't change it, but
Yeah.
I will change the way things I work in my own organization. And as a leader, whatever best way you can find, I have no rule of thumb. I cannot give it to you on the plate, how to do it. If it was so easy, I wouldn't be standing here and speaking.
Yes.
It's not easy. Let me tell you, leadership is difficult. So I hope I have partly answered your question. We can take it offline.
Thank you very
Any more
much,
questions?
sir.
And I think I've been kicked out now. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, very much. Before he
Mr.
literally
Kapoor, I
kicks
have
me
a
out.
question.
Thank you, Professor, for the speech, inspiring speech.